Just wanted to touch base with you guys, and this is a live that was spontaneous, but we got some news coming down the pipeline here. Very interesting to say the least. There is a lot of interesting facts coming on about Death Row and Dr. Dre settlement, divorce settlement, and other Tupac news. And seems like Snoop is being looked at as a liar as usual, and the things that he says and the things he has presented in the past about his relationship with Tupac. And the more and more we listen to these stories, the more we're finding out that they're not true. But what we do have, and this may be poetic justice from one guy who always hated on Tupac because he wasn't part of the mob, or he didn't pay his dues, or whatever it was that he had issues with Tupac about him not being from the neighborhood. But either way, if you haven't heard the news, I suggest you probably go out there and take a look at it. But Mob James come out as an informant for either the FBI or I guess the local police department, and he's had several people come out of the woodwork in the last day or so that has kind of vetted and substantiated this information that he is an informant. So which leads you to believe the person that he's tied to mainly, and you know who that guy is, would be a question mark for him if he was ever an informant. And that leads to the bigger question is how many informants were around Death Row Records. And it's strange how certain people were ended up dodging the law, so to speak, and remained free or got a slap on the wrist when everybody else was getting harsher jail sentences or bigger penalties for their involvement associated with Death Row. So you certainly want to look at that, but like I said, that might be poetic justice for Tupac because he's always hated on Tupac or whatever, and for what reason I don't understand it, but either way, I don't see anybody in the chat or even talking right now, but well, let's see here. Yeah, nobody, but that's why I never trusted him. His whole story. Yeah, and the other thing too with that as well is that I understand that there was some information about. I think Mob James has always speculated and always said that Keefe D was in the parking lot and he called somebody and yada yada, and then the whole thing with the shooting back at the car, and then that's never happened. We've been saying that for a long time. There was no shooting that ever happened. He has even speculated that. There's always been a rumor out there. So the story was Keefe D was in a parking lot. They were there, and then there's a story that recently came up that he saw them drive by Club 662, and then I heard another story that no one ever saw Keefe D at all in the parking lot. So yeah, Kevin James, all lies, but the story is falling apart by the seams, and if you think about it, it's really a triangle of three people, with Greg Kading being on top of that pyramid, rather. Greg Kading's in the pyramid, and then the other corner you have Reggie Wright, and then the other corner you have Mob James. So those three guys right there in collaboration have made the story very believable, because when you listen to Mob James, if you go by his word, he was there at Club 662 in the parking lot and he saw Keefe D in them, is what he says. So if they warned them at the MGM, the entourage was there. So the strange part is if the way he portrays the story is that they were sitting there at the club, and this is before the fight happened. So he called to warn somebody that they were there, and then Keefe D and his crew supposedly get there in their car, and they would have to drive to the MGM and park or whatever. But either way, the story is just very, very confusing, at least. And these three guys are telling the story, so very non-believable. But anyways, I don't know how Mob James is gonna be able to back this one down that he's an informant when there's already three people that have come out from the neighborhood that are associated with, I guess, the Pyrus. Even Whack 100 said it, but with a grain of salt, we don't know really if we can believe Whack 100. But either way, regardless, you have three people that have come out and said that he is a bona fide informant. So that would have to ask you is sometimes two peas in a pod, and you know who his partner is. So and there's always been some speculation that he could have been an informant too, especially with the light sentence he got for the interstate drug trafficking and the I guess I don't know, he was bank fraud or whatever it was. He was putting in a certain amount of money or whatever. But I guess regardless, I mean, I've seen where people have been associated in criminal ring. Usually the FBI comes at you with a RICO statute, and they pretty much give everybody harsh time. I think the only person that they don't give harsh time to is a person who tells. And like, there's no distinguish. So I guess my point being is if I'm associated with two guys in Houston, Texas. I'm just giving you an example. I'm selling weed and they're selling cocaine, and I'm pushing the weed to them, and they're selling cocaine. Somehow or another, the FBI is going to tie us all together. They're not going to say, "Well, you were selling just weed, and they were just selling cocaine." No, these guys are going to be like, "You were just associated with the job in general." It's kind of like being in a car when someone shoots. Everybody's going to go down for murder, or they're going to get some kind of penalty close to murder. They don't pick and choose like, okay, well, you sold weed and you sold cocaine, so we're going to go and give you 10 years and we're going to give them 20 years. No, they just try to give everybody 20 years unless someone talks. So, anyways, so that's just a quick synopsis of what I've gathered in the last day or so. So, I think this story's falling apart by the seams. We're starting to learn that some people in the Tupac community have always told, and that could have been one of the biggest downfalls for part of the reason why Suge Knight was brought down, because he had tattletales in his crew. That's the reason why. So, gonna do a live tomorrow. We'll get together some more visuals. Just wanted to come on here and let you know about that. RJ's doing well. Talked to him about a week ago. Just living life, doing what we do. That's about it. More news to come. Hope everybody's doing well. Tomorrow, I think we can do something about 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Oh, I'm sorry, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Either way, we'll jump on. We'll figure out what we're gonna do or whatever. But yeah, that's the Tupac news. So go out there and do your your investigation, and I'll leave you with this. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that Reggie Wright Jr. stole money from Suge Knight. Let's be real here, okay? While he was in jail, it's like having a cookie jar and no one's around to see you take the cookies, and especially if they're not yours, you're gonna help yourself to it. So let's not fool ourselves. I guarantee he was stealing money. So, Whiskey the Don, what's up, my friend? Just jumped on a quick live here to give you all the information to go out there and do your research about Mob James supposedly being an informant. There's been three people that have come out and said that he is. So, this is gonna bust some things wide open, and people are gonna be finding these things interesting. So let's see how they walk this back. It'd be interesting to find out who brought this paperwork out, because whoever brought this paperwork out should keep digging and keep looking at certain individuals and see what the history is behind them. So none of us have to worry about being an informant, because obviously I'm not an informant. I'm not tied up in the streets like that. I was, not anymore. Work for the government now, so I don't have to worry about that. And I don't think anybody else I know has to worry about that. But I guess people that are portraying certain situations have to be worried about getting their history and their information researched. So let's see here. I read a comment. I saw the video that looked like surveillance on him. Did you see that? I didn't see the video. There were some pictures that I saw, but there are some like videos that came. I mean, some videos on Clubhouse. I guess Clubhouse is that app where you can get on, where you can be like on a phone call or whatever, and several people can call in from all like corners of the world or whatever. And there was like three mob, not mob, but Pyru gang members that said that they had gotten snitched on and they weren't lying about it or whatever. So I don't understand why anybody would come on and say these things, especially three people already, if it wasn't true. And I'm sure if they're in the California community and they're still gangbanging and still have ties, I mean, they can get a strike for that, and I mean, they could get rolled on or whatever it is. It's like a strike. They call it different things in the gang world. You mess up, you get a beat down or even worse. Who knows? But I don't see why people would be like, well, that he was a snitch or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, pictures. I think there was just do a search. There's been some, like I said, Clubhouse conversations on it about these guys saying that this is what happened. So if they're all lying, then they're all going to be in trouble. But I seriously doubt it. So I guess the next question would be is where does Mob James go from here? Because he's going to lose his credibility pretty quickly, and he may be like Keefy D and not be able to return to Compton. I guess I don't know. Who knows? Those guys' problems. But just sharing the news because I'm pretty much small news outlet is what you would say. So just reporting the news, not even the news. It's just this is all for trivial reasons. So, but it leads you to ask yourself questions about the story that he tells about the whole Keefy D thing, and he just inserted himself in the fray of everything happening. And obviously, there could be many reasons for that. Sell books, sell interviews, get notoriety, ride the coattails of Tupac's story, because without Tupac, there is no story. So, anyways, hope you guys are doing well. Kevin James, Whiskey the Don, and whoever else is in here today. We'll do a live stream tomorrow, go over these things, talk about other things besides Mob James, talk about Dr. Dre. His divorce has been finalized. His wife's walking around with a handsome amount of money, and the other Tupac stories that are coming down the pipeline. I didn't see it on that channel. I'll be honest with you, Whiskey. I don't even visit that channel. I saw it on, I think it was Top TV Media or Top Media TV or something like that. So I try not to go to these other channels that really don't strike my interest. So, but I think it was Top TV Media is where I saw it. They had pictures and they also had interviews from people that were on Clubhouse that were out here expressing their opinions or facts about being snitched on. So, anyways, hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're doing good. Thank you for visiting the live chat today, I suppose. And like I always tell you guys, always seek the truth, no matter where it takes you. Y'all have a good night, folks.